Okay, let's call it to order. Would everybody rise, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call to the community. This is the time for citizens who would like to address the commission on a non-agenda item. Action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to asking staff to review the matter, asking that the matter be put on a future agenda, or responding to criticism. We have nothing, correct? Staff reports. Community and Recreation Services Monthly Report. Presenter, Tricia Kramer, Director of Community and Recreation Services.
Thank you, Chairman Taddy, Commissioners. The report is in your agenda packet, and I'll highlight a couple of things. As you know, the rec center pool is now open for the season. We opened on Memorial Day. We also had our first movie night that night and had about 150 community members come out for it, so that was a great showing. Sorry, that was the Saturday before Memorial Day. On Memorial Day, we also did a free swim day and had a couple hundred people come out for that. So pool's getting some good use so far. We're thrilled about that. Sign-ups for aquatics lessons are ongoing, and we're at, I think, about 1,100 sign-ups for programming throughout the summer swim season, including about 271 kids on the Lombardo swim team. So
Wow.
that's the highest.
Holy
been,
cow.
quite a while, I think, since I've
We were at the last meet and it was extensive.
yeah. So it's a lot, but good time overall seems to be happening at the pool. Lots of activity. Preschool had their graduation last month, and now they have started their June summer camp. They're off to a good start as well, and enrollment's ongoing. About 30 students overall. There's usually those signups start coming in over the next month or so. So we'll see those numbers pick up. Total number of students that can be in the preschool program between the three classes is 54. So we expect to get at or close to that. In terms of community services, accountability contracts are in the works with all of the nonprofits who council designated grant funding for. So once those are signed, the city will release the checks to them so that they can do their good deeds for our community members in the surrounding West Valley. Memorial Day ceremony, thanks to those of you who came out for that. It was a nice event. The mayor did a good job. Our guest speaker did a great job too. Joker, were you there?
The Blue Star?
The Blue Star as well. Yeah, we,
That one
I know the
yeah.
three of you were there for that. Was a really, nice ceremony as well. I think that's a great addition to
Yeah.
the park there. Seen a lot of people stopping to take a look at it and read it, and hopefully that'll be the case moving forward too. Also tomorrow, for those, any of you who are available, we are doing our flag raising ceremony on the City Hall front lawn to commemorate Flag Day and honor the Army for their birthday. So if you're around, 8:15 in the morning, so usually a brief 20-minute ceremony in the morning, but it's a pretty nice way to pay our respects. And in terms of special events, Andy, you asked about Sparkle in the Square. That's our new event that we're doing on Thursday, July 3rd, that evening from 6 to 9 p.m. We'll have food trucks, we'll have lawn games. We're going to do water balloon races, pie eating contests, those kind of good, fun, hometowny things. And it will be a viewing area for the fireworks. Fireworks will be shot off at roughly 8:30. from Scout Park. And notifications going out to all the people in those adjacent homes. We just had a walkthrough yesterday with Goodyear Fire, for them to sign off on that. So now you'll see a lot of the advertising to the community kick into high gear for that. So it should be fun. We'll have a fire truck out there, just to be safe. We'll have the fire inspector on site, the pyro team. They'll all be over by Scout Park, and then our viewing area will be in the new Litchfield Square Park. And of course, we've got all the parking lots and surrounding area that will let people park in as well. Avondale PD will have everything kind of traffic control in place for the evening. Other than that, we're doing that and just planning for the upcoming event season. So Sparkle in the Square is kind of the one thing we've got in the summer. And then we'll plan for starting in the fall with our Movies in the Park, Fall Fest, all those good annual things that we do. And I will let Pat update on how sports are going.
Thank you, Tricia. Thank you, Commissioners, Chairperson Kennedy. Sports, we are underway in all our skilled clinics. Last week, Challenger Soccer was out to do their annual summer soccer camp. We have about 30 kids this year signed up for that. This week, we have our intro to T-ball for ages 3 to 7 or 3 to 6. We have 10 kids registered in that. That's the most we've had since we started the program a couple of years ago. So they seem to be enjoying their time. And then our coach pitch registration opened June 2nd, and we have 30 kids registered for that already. I can say we had 40 total last year, so we're close to getting past that number, and we had only 21 registered throughout until the registration ended last year. So we're already far ahead of that for the couple of weeks. So we're excited to see this kind of get back to what we're hoping for. So outside of that, that's really all that we have going on in sports. So.
Thank you, both.
Everything else, you guys have further questions?
Chair recognizes Commissioner Gertz.
What's that? Wow. The age range for the Challenger soccer training, what was that again?
So they do, I want to say 2 to 12. They do an hour-long one for the younger age groups, and then they, from, I believe, 8 to 9, and then 9 to 12 is the older, the half-day camp.
Okay. Tricia, I had a question for you. Are we closing the entirety of Scout Park for when they're launching the fireworks?
Yes.
Yeah, the whole park will be closed.
The whole
Okay.
park and that time frame while they're shooting, between Old Litchfield Road on Fairway and around to La Loma, up to,
Yeah.
yeah,
The whole south.
so all around the park, surrounding the park,
Oh, the road as well.
yes.
We
Just
have-
during that time frame while they're
Okay.
shooting, so for about an hour or so during the shoot.
Is that in conjunction with the wigwam at all, or no?
No, the Wigwam is doing their usual 5 to 7 minute show. Theirs this year will be on July 5th.
Yes, yeah, okay, I didn't know, okay.
The intent originally was to combine them again. But because our viewing area was so far away from the shoot site on the golf course, we just couldn't get it to work. And, the Wigwam still had the request that we not allow the public to go onto the course. So the only good
Yeah.
option was to set it. But yeah, so you guys will have
Two.
a pleasure of
Yeah.
2 fireworks events,
Yeah.
barring any heavy winds where they say, no, you
Yeah.
can't do, but. We got into action a little too late.
Oh, okay, got it,
Moving forward, hopefully we.
yeah. Okay.
Thank you very much. Public Works Monthly Report presenter Kyle Ames, not tonight though.
Yeah, so Kyle, as you know, had a conflict and couldn't be here tonight. So, if there's anything in his report that you have questions on, please just, call or email him directly, and he'll be happy to respond.
Two more DUIs at the roundabout. What is going on there?
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of.
Is there something more DUI resilient that we could put there that we don't have to repair as much? Like just boulders.
There are giant, in San Diego, they have giant boulders in theirs. Yeah.
Break even point on cost there. At some point, we just put boulders in the way.
Tricia, is this an item where a response can be given to commissioners?
It's mentioned on here, so I think so.
Sure.
We can ask questions about.
I am not Kyle Ames, I'm not the director of Public Works. My name is Randy Proch, I am your planning director. To your point, Commissioner Gers, we are planning at least 3 more roundabouts in the city, one of which is under design at Brenton and Litchfield Road into the new high school and library that will feature very large boulders.
Okay.
And not
DUI resilient
It's
boulders.
not gaming baskets this time, though, to your point, it's big boulder, because cars are very heavy, and we do not want to play a game of paper football with that boulder.
Yeah.
So, yes,
Okay.
we've learned from the constant repair of the gaming basket.
The ones I saw were like the size of Chuck Emmert's car. His little, Mini Cooper thing. They're huge.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Approval of minutes, presenter Tricia Kramer, Director of Community and Recreation Services.
Thank you, Chairman Taddy, Commissioners. The minutes are in your packet. And, I would say if the chair would like to entertain a motion or provide it. Give her a minute or so to double check.
I move to approve the minutes as written.
Second.
Thank you for that. Thank you for the second. Are there any questions? All in favor of approving the minutes as written, say aye. Aye. All opposed? So they are approved. Cancellation of the July 10th, 2025 regular meeting. Presenter Tricia Kramer, Community and Recreation Services Director.
Thank you, Chairman Taddy and Commissioners. It is, on the agenda for your consideration. We have a couple of commissioners that won't be in town for the July meeting. This time of year is usually a conflict that comes up for, several of the commissioners. City Council has already canceled their July meeting. They typically cancel each, July meeting. And I believe the other boards and commissions are also not holding meetings in July. So I would just recommend, it's kind of a month of no new business. So, unless you have something pressing that you'd like to discuss.
Nothing comes to mind. Does anybody have any questions on this? Would anybody like to make a motion?
Motion to cancel the July meeting.
Second?
Are there any questions? All in favor of canceling the July RPG meeting, say aye. Aye. Opposed? And so it is canceled.
I just have one other note with regards to your meetings. We will be moving them as of August to the library community room. So you guys are aware.
Will you remind us in our?
Yeah, I will.
Permanently?
Yes, so moving forward, we are, making some adjustments to this area. We are accommodating staffing and office space. And you guys are the last holdouts that aren't there.
We don't want to leave.
Yeah.
You know.
We like our little conference.
However, now that we also have a council member that is
Yeah.
routinely going to be in the meetings, it gets tighter and tighter if we're a full group. And then if we do want to be welcoming to the public, it's time, I think, for us to be over there. And city admin has requested that we do so. I will send you a reminder, but plan for starting in August. So wear your best shoes. Remember, that was
That was a problem before, is there's some flip-flop wearers.
Oh, yeah, 'cause your feet show.
Yeah, yeah. I wasn't wearing flip-flops, for the record.
noted.
Or pretty ones.
Well, thank you for that, Director Kramer. Downtown Library Building. Presenter Andy Phillips, RPG Vice Chairperson.
So just a quick history, because the history is really short. What we just opened the door on last meeting was in response to Sonny Culbreth's, call to the community from the month before on, his thoughts and ideas on future uses for the downtown library. And so last month, we just kind of said, okay, it's time to start thinking, put it on the agenda. So here we are, it's on the agenda.
Can I stop you real quick?
Mhm.
So everybody received the email that has the blueprints
Yeah.
for the library? Go ahead and open that up now as Vice Chairperson Phillips gets started here, and we'll have that to reference. Oh,
Okay.
thank you, sir.
So I don't really have a lot else to say, except that it's, in my head, it's time to just start brainstorming, talking to your friends and neighbors, getting ideas, because I think at this point, almost anything could be possible. I mean, an idea I had would be to connect the rec and into the library, so it was one space that could be used for many, many things, and I don't know. So, I mean, nothing's off the, yeah. Yeah, why not?
No, it's possible. There's a distance.
Yeah, so
Probably a good segue for our.
you can think of all the stuff you could do with that, and I think some people are squished that are working in the rec, and, it could just be but I mean, at this point, it's time to just think and throw out ideas, so that's really all I have.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, anything's possible.
Does anybody else want to comment? Looks like everybody's looking at, the chair recognizes Commissioner Gertz.
Not a comment, but a question. You keep doing that to me. Do we know what the, 5-year plan for this building is? You guys plan on being in here 5 years from now? You plan on not being in here? 'Cause there was talk at some point of
Yeah.
this would go
What does that mean?
I do not know a 5-year plan for this building, but if you're referring to turning the library building into staff offices, I think that the plan is that the will of the community is going to prevail.
Okay. Yeah, I just didn't know if we need to consider that, this place, there's plans to demo this in 4 years, and we're gonna.
Oh, you can't
Or
demo
bond
that.
it or something, right?
No.
Okay.
This will never go away.
Chair, Vice Chair, members of the commission, it's just fine. Just to reflect on Commissioner Gerst, no, there is no desire, opportunity, or ability to modify this building in its current state. However, anyone that wants to propose any Litchfield Square projects, this is lot 15 of Litchfield Square.
Right.
It is an opportunity for a developer, should they choose to submit an RFP and wish to lease this building from us for a different use. It is out there and available.
Okay.
Have interest, as you know, lot 3 and 4 is under construction. Lot 1, lot 2 is now approved and sold. Lot 13 and lot 14 will be going to council next week. And so we're
almost halfway done with the square in some ways.
Okay.
So as far as a 5-year plan for this building, it should be us unless there was something so positive for the community that would displace city staff from being in this building from 1937, who some people sit at the pay window with the truck scale that used to go by and the bank vault around the corner. And it would be unusual for us to not be here.
Okay.
Good deal.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I did include to the email conversation. Sometimes I felt as though this conversation may have concussive effects that affect one, you affect the other.
Sure,
I wanted to give you all of the details from all
Yeah,
4 of our
please.
facilities.
please.
And that building is the,
Where you are.
Where we are right now,
But
yeah. This isn't designated
Not much
historic or anything. It doesn't have a historic designation, does it?
Vice Chair, the City of Litchfield Park is not what's known as a CLG, a Certified Local Government, recognized through SHPO, the State Historic Preservation Office, through AZ Parks. All be your friends. We had discussed it very heavily at one point to look into it.
Right.
There are some buildings that are certainly eligible. The PW Litchfield Heritage Center is has a hearing for nomination on the cottages and the homestead on July 25th. Please tune in to see if that gets on the state and national registry. Certainly the original Thomas Church. I have to think about the current library isn't eligible because it went through major renovation in the early 90s. Certainly this building from 1937. It's possible, but it wouldn't be done as a regulatory body at the city level. It would just be something that we could pursue individually.
Don't say, just point at me.
Commissioner Gertz.
As we talked about after-school activities, I just don't know if anybody else recalls this, but for a while, Litchfield Elementary School had in there what was, I think, a utility building on the far end of their lot, an after-school program
Mm-hmm.
that had games and pool tables, arcades and that sort of thing. I remember it being there, but and then it not being there. I don't remember if there were lessons learned from that in terms of setting up that sort of environment that we might learn from, or
Well,
if
there-
there was a big memory everybody else's.
Wasn't there something even at the library recently for Wednesday early release days? Or did I make that up? Or kids that could? I don't
I'm
know.
honestly not familiar with their.
Okay, yeah, I
I
don't
think
know.
there was,
I think there was, right?
at some point, yeah.
Because I mean, that would be a wonderful thing to add on and keep going.
I know as a parent at multiple schools here, having an after program that is not at the school because they want to leave the school, but they still want to do things would be beneficial. And I'm gonna bring up safety again, because we have some kiddos here who the school is their safe place and home is not always, and schools are not always open. Not that this would be a 24-hour thing, but it could be a safe space for some of our kiddos who maybe don't always have one to go to as well, because we have a few in our community that could certainly use it right now, today.
We could talk about, and I think we probably ought to enumerate the things that we could potentially use the space for.
Mhm.
But just like we had a survey for Scout Park when that was open, perhaps we want to do that, or even as we have a meeting coming up in that new location. I don't know if we can, ahead of that, have something we advertise of like, hey, come walk through the space and let's talk about it.
Mhm. But I think we can think beyond the space too, because there's lots of land around there that could be reconfigured into something that really doesn't get, I mean, cornhole tournament, that kind of stuff. But I mean, I think we need to maybe think outside the box building a little bit too, but.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Faith.
Well, we have our planning director here. The walls in the library are
very oddly placed. Are they, do you know if they are like structural or if it would be relatively simple to open it up?
Chair, Commissioner Faith. And of all the faiths, you are definitely in my top 3 faiths that I've spoken to. You will. They are all structural. They hold up the building. They are octagonal structure. This isn't an HGTV, knock down the wall, really open up the space kind of situation. Every single one holds up that roof. There are very limited porticos of sorts to get you to like the study areas or the teen spaces, the offices. However, every single one of those, if modified, would have to go through significant renovation.
So given that, I mean, it seems like there's 4 to 6 distinct spaces, like small uses that we're looking at. When you could, put in more walls and have it closed off in the middle, where there's like a little lobby in the middle, and then 4 different areas for seniors, young kids, middle-aged kids. And that, I mean, that might kind of be what we're forced into doing, like in a broader picture, given the structure. Is something to consider.
Could you cut doorways in any of those halls? Okay.
But sure, yes, and I'm gonna just react to your questions in this situation. Similar to when we last hung out and we went through an exercise as far as park programming up on La Loma. I'll wait for your questions and I'll be happy to respond, but I do not want to influence.
Make me feel like I need to ask the right question.
Ask whatever you want.
I feel like I want to have a bigger space without the walls. But I feel like that's not gonna happen.
Chair, be difficult. Yes, you can put in doorways, but as far as removing the spans in between each of those, it'd be significant. And even if you could, instead of the walls around that lobby area, it'd be very, very large posts trying to do the same job. It's just, there's no drywall in the middle of those situations. For reference, this building is about 4,000 square feet. The library is about 7,000 square feet. Most people don't see most of it because the library portion's only a little over half. If you exclude the community room and exclude the staff area.
Well, it might be the configuration too, like it perhaps by the way it's configured, it doesn't seem like it's 7,000 square feet.
Certainly, yeah, as far as very
Segmented, sort of.
Thank you, yes. I'd say the rec center, preschool bathrooms is about 2,000, 2,500 square feet.
Yeah, notice in the preschool building, it seems to have that same
It does.
roof structure, but it
Intentional.
doesn't have
Yes.
Doesn't have the,
any walls.
yeah.
Yes, better construction,
Yeah, okay,
more recent construction.
I see.
I say recent in a grand scheme, I don't mean last year.
I mean, I wonder if it'd be, one of the walls was able to be changed into posts, and then you have like one larger area and then smaller areas would make it more useful. I don't know that that's feasible, but
Yeah,
Also-
like the one in the upper right corner, take that one away, and so it opens up that whole L, maybe?
yeah.
Yeah. I guess any of them would make a giant space compared to what's there.
And is there any chance that we could request a pricing or just a general, how much would it cost to do that? To take exactly what Vice Chair Phillips just said, where that wall and that on the, I guess that would be the northeast side?
Yeah, I think any of them. If any of them went away, you'd end up with a big space.
Sure, we can look into that for Tricia back too.
Thank
Like,
you.
we're kind of, the library is moving because of the walls, right? And if we're trying to put in something that is
Well,
similar in concept to a library where there's kids and a limited number of adults watching them, run into the same sightlines problem unless it's
A
either
larger open space.
or you have 4
But
or 5 different spaces.
But I think we need to think about not limiting this to kids, because I think it needs to be available to seniors or any age that want to come in and, I don't know,
Beautiful night.
yeah, practice a play that they're doing somewhere, or, you know, whatever. I think having the after-school availability, short day availability is great, but, I mean, we don't have a space here where people can come and really meet and do anything. Unless Scout Lodge gets moved and that gets opened up, but I don't know. That's,
Vice Chair, that is planned, and
yeah.
part of our capital improvement program, and the contractor is finalizing pricing and ability to move it across the street every day that we speak. Close.
But that probably won't be available to the general public to use for meetings or events or whatever.
Vice Chair, I'm glad you asked, because this is something that whispers around the community. At any point, if anyone watches this, please just call me. Just call us. I'm happy to give you the information. The Scout Lodge building and land are owned by the city of Litchfield. The Scouts certainly have a first right to it, and we certainly appreciate the partnership that they have, but it is a gifting issue if we give them that building, again, on our land across the street. So it cannot be used exclusively for them. We'd be sued so quickly
Okay.
if it was only for them. So yes, it will be open for public events, assuming that the Scouts aren't using it at the same time.
Okay.
I think that discussion influences this discussion
Mhm.
based on
Yeah.
if there's a general purpose room that would be available to the public or things of that nature.
Yeah, so Chair, most of that lodge, if you haven't been in it, is one big open space.
Mhm.
There's a couple bathrooms, storage room, so assuming everything goes well, they lift it, move it, and put it back down. Yes, there is a general purpose room that takes up a majority of that space.
Is that the plan, that they're just gonna lift it, move it, and put it back down?
Yes, there's only 2 companies in Arizona that do this. We have one of those 2 companies that does this for historic buildings, and that's their whole business. They just do this all over the state.
Can we come and watch?
From a safe distance,
Yeah. Okay,
of course.
cool.
I mean,
I'm thinking T-shirts.
So
We now have a theme.
it seems like we'll have that space that we can utilize differently. We have this space, we have our ideas of what we want, but if we're gonna solicit input from the community, perhaps we could leverage like the upcoming event on July 3rd to, you know, have a QR code for fill out a survey or something like that. Maybe we can get something going in time for that.
Put it in City Line?
Well, the city line, okay, I mean, some people read the city line. I don't think I've received the city line in quite a while. I don't know, maybe it's dropped me off the list. But, anyway, some people read it, some people don't, right? But if we could get something going before the 4th of July, and then maybe it can be very simple, but like, hey, we're just soliciting input on what do you not have as an amenity, or that you'd like to have in the city. Think indoor, think outdoor, right, both. Because I think if we just ask it blank like that, people generally think outdoor activities. Maybe we'll get some more ideas.
Yeah.
And then we could take those to like an actual community forum. We could have something scheduled. I said it's one of the few times I think in the next, until it cools down again, where we actually have like a city
Major gathering.
There's gonna be people that might like actually, oh, what, we're doing, what's an opportunity?
So an RPG-driven survey,
Yes. Yeah.
rather than an overall city survey.
Well, it's more of a question of like, what amenities, that's what we're talking about, like, what kinds of things would you like to see in after-school programs?
You could do a drop-down box too, you know, some possibilities would be, you know, select your favorite 3 or whatever.
Then have another,
Make choice.
yeah.
Make choice worked well last time.
Love the QR code idea.
We did a similar exercise for
Mhm. Yeah,
the survey still open. If anyone wants to take the survey, take it again.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Faith.
So it seems odd to me that the preschool is at the pool. And I wonder if the preschool would be better served by moving the preschool to the library and then using the preschool building part of the rec to have, I mean, because the pool is, I don't think that the preschoolers use the pool, and I just there.
Summertime they do, for summer camp.
Okay.
The library is like 2.5 times the size.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't think that the whole thing would be the preschool, but if you move the preschool to the library, then maybe there's a different use that's more compatible with like the pool. Like the gym that is there is kind
Build
of,
a gym in between the two.
yeah.
Commissioner Banks, the other thing that has come up frequently with the preschool being located there is they have to leave the preschool, walk across the hall to the bathrooms, which are shared with the public.
Hmm.
The preschool does not have its own bathrooms.
Whereas you could solve that problem by, if you potentially moved it to,
So, Chair, the library has 3 sets of bathrooms, in fact. One within the community room, one within the staff area, and then the men's and women's in the main lobby.
interesting.
Not necessarily, depending on how you participate.
Yeah.
How would,
I think that
But both-
the considerations for
hold on, Director. Thank you, everybody. Chair recognizes Director Kramer.
Just considerations for moving the preschool. I think it is something that is being talked about by staff and, possibly by council. Restroom consideration, preschool is not open to the public, so that building would then during preschool hours be entirely preschool. And they do need access to a kitchen as part of their programming and their state requirements as well. So there are things to consider, but it's on
Would
the
that be
table.
solved by taking the staff area out of there and making that exclusively preschool? Because you have the bathrooms. I don't know if there's a kitchenette in there. I'm assuming there might be. I've never been back there. But then you have exterior entrance. You could isolate it entirely.
Is the rec closed during preschool hours?
The rec is not closed during preschool hours, but that is the off-season from the pool. And so they have privacy during their hours for bathroom use. The public is not allowed. In there, we have the family bathroom that's open to the public during that time. So they haven't run into that issue.
Are you saying it would be, I mean, of course, it'd be a problem to have shared space, but if the building was like not accessible, different entrances,
Yeah, if it was only a preschool,
but not the whole building, but just like the
Could you-
segmented area?
Yeah, divide it with a real wall and make them two, like, totally separate accessible areas.
But I don't see turning the whole thing into a preschool. Would be flying with the community.
Vice Chair.
Yeah. Ping pong.
Just to add to the conversation, the current preschool is about 1,200 square feet.
Oh, 1,200.
Yeah, the library is 7,000.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So if we say, okay, so about, 20% of that right there is the staff plus offices area?
Probably be a little bit
Like,
of an
so, I
expansion.
mean, that might be about the same size.
Yeah.
Roughly.
Offhand, I can tell you it's a pain, because they'll draw a square, and then I'll draw another square, I'll keep drawing squares, and then I'll pull the squares, because nothing is
Nothing is.
Yeah.
regular.
Yeah. But it's,
Yeah.
So there's potential there, and I really like the way that would potentially free up a large space right next to the pool.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Is that like a monumental effort to move the preschool? Is there anything?
Excuse me. Thank you.
That preschool for 30 years.
was an arcade when you went in there? It was an arcade at one point.
Really?
Yeah.
I know it's a thought that's been discussed. Haven't spoken to our preschool director on her
Okay.
like or dislike for that group.
Yeah.
But certainly, I'm sure it's sure to come up.
Yeah. Okay.
Recertification from the state is always.
Yes, bless you, bless you.
Thanks.
Well, I think we just need to get people's input and everybody thinking and
Like-
sharing ideas.
We certainly have received input also.
Oh, good.
Once it was announced, once again, that the library would be going up to La Loma, the comments started, regarding their belief on what the age.
Is there a theme that emerged from those comments, or
I-
comment?
Sure, Commissioner Gers, the one consistent across everything was open to the public, open to the public, public. Because there was an initial thought that it could be City Hall as we're bursting at the seams, and it was very apparent from responses that, no, thank you. Leave it for the community.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be an or, I don't think.
A large part of it's gonna come from who steps up to run some kind of program there. And if we make the space available for reservation, people can reserve it, and if it turns into something and sticks in the community, we can go with it. We can maybe set up some sort of system to do that.
Mhm.
Basic amenities,
Mhm.
make it usable, maybe segmented somewhat for multiple uses at the same time.
There's just, you can imagine that bottom section being the preschool,
Mhm.
and if we're dying for office space, we're assuming we keep the community room the way it is. And then that next section that's like to the top right of the community room, if you chop that up into offices, that still leaves 3 huge rooms that will open to the public. I almost feel like we're spoiled for rooms here, to work with, because we can't turn them into one big area. And there may be some benefits of having staff there during the day, versus having to
Yeah.
have additional staff that has to be there,
Off and on.
you know.
And Commissioner Fake, the Scout Lodge will provide the opportunity for leasable or rentable space as well for events.
Oh, right.
Yes,
Mhm.
you know, not Scouts first, and then whenever the Scouts are
Right.
not using it.
Yeah. I think they use it like once a week, twice a week.
And then, for Vice Chair, if the community room was not there, you couldn't have your meetings there. That's an idea. I know you said I wouldn't influence your ideas, but I'm just saying, if you're looking for an answer to that problem,
We could have them at the new library.
there will be a community room there as well.
The size for holding council meetings, so.
You should hold 100.
Wow, holy cow. So if it's okay, I'll try and summarize. Please let me know so moving forward, we're looking at a July 4th survey that is accessible via QR code.
We can work on a survey to have out at the meeting, in the city line potentially, and on the website.
That's perfect. Maybe even Instagram, or Instagram might be too far reaching. Maybe just July 4th event, city line. Where else did you say? I'm sorry.
And on the city
On the
website.
City website. I like it.
Yeah, and we could put a link through social media to the survey.
Some open-ended questions, some closed-ended. What do you think of these programs? Rank them in order kind of thing, drop-down box.
Need to rank at this point, personally. I think.
I like what you like. It could just be that too.
Yeah, just for them to say.
Okay. What's your favorite, you mean, or?
Well, because you
Then
give
we
people,
have to come up with the ideas then, or someone has to come up with all the
Yeah, we
possible
can go with-
ideas rather than.
we can be
Yeah,
open-ended too. We can feed that. This is public information, so we can feed that through like large language model and get like, any of the common themes on this thing. Like, we don't have to read it all and retype it. We can do open-ended.
then I would recommend that you individually submit your suggestions to me. This way we're not trying to conduct any business without public having access.
Okay.
So we'll email you suggestions for the survey, suggestion questions for the, excellent. We're also asking the city to give us some kind of number on what it would be to remove the northeast supportive wall and the L structure on that side, which would then enable that large L space.
Or, yeah, actually, any of them I think would work, but the L might be the one that's left after we do the things. We gotta have
We'll be in there. Give me a
right
sledgehammer.
there with our hard hats on.
And then the balcony view of what Vice Chair Phillips started with is absolutely exciting to me, that we are thinking about how this area could just, thinking outside the box, could just greatly improve our city's capacity for recreation programming in a recreation department. So, are there any other questions before we move on? Okay.
Tricia, would you like to have those in the next weekish? Probably,
5 a.m. tomorrow morning.
The sooner the better.
okay. We can do that.
Chair, I always like hanging out with you guys, but I'm going to depart. You're always welcome to stop by. I'm very close by,
Awkwardly sit around the corner.
normally. I encourage you to read City Line. I contribute at least 3 articles every quarter. And of all the boards and commissions, you were all in my top 3 boards and commissions that I sit on occasion.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Possible dog park. Oh, you want to just skip that? Wait for him to get a chance to, he may have something specifically that he wants to say. I'd rather him have the opportunity to present it.
We can take it.
Rose Park Innovations. Presenter Commissioner Brian Faith.
Yes.
I don't know how familiar everyone is with Rose Park. I think you guys all live on the side of the city. But it seems like the most underutilized park in the city. And it's also very central, with this, as the Litchfield Square is developed. That's the center, and you've got that park there, and then adjacent from it, there's this other big space, and it's got, it's big oval shape, got a amphitheater and a ramada on one end, and just a ramada on the other end, and in the middle is bathrooms with a rose garden. And the only eating in that entire park is the amphitheater and the rose garden, like half walls around there. There's not a bench, there's not a picnic table. Nowhere to sit on the entire western side of the park. And there's, 2 ramadas that people rent out. And I see people have like birthday parties there, and they have to bring all of their chairs and tables and stuff. And other than that, nobody uses it, except for the people that live in the condos to walk their dogs around it.
Right.
But it seems like there's opportunity there to do something with that space. Maybe not a dog park, I'm not sure if that's the spot for it. But, and it's kind of narrow to have like a full-fledged play set for older kids, but maybe like the small playground set in the back of Scout Park, like something like for real small kids that would fit there, or just, I don't know, something to use that space, because it's really underutilized, or even just throw a couple picnic benches there. So, people that are walking their dogs could sit down there. But it is, in the middle of the park, it's very nice with the the roses are really neat when they're in season. The amphitheater is like hilariously never used, and I'm not sure,
School
like,
graduation.
yeah.
Which we sit on the wall.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think
It is
all of
very
the
nice
above,
done.
Brian.
yeah.
May I ask a question? Do we advertise, could somebody rent that amphitheater?
We have periodically had people use it for weddings and for gatherings, graduation parties, Pat can probably share with us, since he does park reservations, what it's most often requested for.
Can it be used for?
I would say probably not amplified music.
Right, like quiet, like a,
Acoustic.
that's good to know.
Let me just try to find.
And it really doesn't have a lot of houses fronting it.
Sure, it's kind of floating, huh?
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
interesting,
it's
yeah.
some of those condos overlook.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but not really like.
Yeah, not really on top of it, like a lot of the parks are.
Do we have any events there?
We don't hold any city-sponsored events.
Harbor Day.
Yes, we have, done tree plantings there. That one does have a nice amount of trees. We're still adding to.
Yeah.
So, in the past, we've had a couple of dance companies do their awards there, but it's been a couple of years since they've used that. I mean, people have done, weddings there. We used to use it for our coaches meeting on Saturdays before. We kind of changed those up to do evening, Thursday nights, but the majority of the time, this back area, I think what Commissioner Faith was talking about, Buffalo Playground, rarely gets used. I don't really reserve that area. The majority of the time, it's really the amphitheater.
Yeah, the space on the left is retention basin, so it'll flood. The space on the right is raised from street level. There's-
Has it ever been discussed to set up, tables and benches or anything like that on a more permanent scale?
It hasn't been brought to rec in recent years until now. It makes
Yeah.
sense.
It feels unfinished, you know?
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
a waste, it's a waste.
Like they forgot.
Yeah.
Somebody forgot to come back.
I mean, it's paid to be watered and mowed and
Yeah.
maintained, but nothing's happening.
Is it convenient, or would that be a convenient place for like a small playground? Because I know exactly what you're talking about, because the one over at Aleppo is like a little bit bigger and it's
Yeah,
not
it's a
so
big
much
one.
geared for the tiny ones. But the tiny ones, is it like, would the access be accessible? How far are the bathrooms, I guess, is really what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Restrooms are right here.
Oh, that's not bad.
Kind of central.
Yeah.
As long as it has shade.
Mhm.
Is there rules around things like that, like playgrounds and space to, I know like real estate, wise, like you have to have green belts and certain types of spaces and buffers in between certain things. So is that big enough for like one of those little tiny guys?
In terms of fall zone,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, yeah,
I would think so.
Right.
Kyle's gonna be the best person to answer that.
I mean, the biggest, there's definitely like space there to put it. The concern is more like with traffic. But there's things you can do. I mean, we could plant some hedges or. And really when it's busy, the cars park, you know, along the sides of
mm-hmm.
the car.
And there is plenty of parking by it, right? Like, so that's not an issue
Yeah.
either. So you could actually be close and not have to, that's probably a little bit of an issue at the Scout one for parents
Right.
with smaller ones.
Yeah.
If they're
so far
parking,
away.
where do we park?
You really have to.
Yeah.
park.
Yeah, you gotta
Yeah.
walk.
And then,
Yeah.
right, and sneak in.
You know, you take
So
your stroller over there.
Interject on that topic, just so you know, the city is planning to relocate that
Yes.
small one.
Yes.
Thank you,
to
Kyle.
The other side.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that
Okay.
parents don't have to
Yeah.
decide which one.
Yeah.
Who gets to play on the playground
Yeah.
right now?
Right. Yay.
That will be happening, my understanding is this coming.
Mhm.
Sounds like minimum, there's like low hanging fruit, there's nowhere to sit. I mean, that's relatively easy to
No benches.
address.
Yeah.
Playground structure, maybe Kyle could provide some recommendations on like what might be suitable inside there.
Or even something for.
Picnic tables.
Mm-hmm.
Dashboard.
Like, what's the?
Yeah.
Bocce ball.
You know, Say that over
Yeah.
at W all the
Mhm.
time.
Something the city doesn't have.
Shuffleboard.
Level Park down the street is always busy.
I bet,
Probably one of the busiest parks.
because it has so many options, from volleyball, basketball, soccer, you can do everything. I do miss I know that the rec center has it, but I do miss, and I know some of you remember this, nighttime basketball games at the basketball court at Scout Park.
Oh, don't even get me started.
We've had a lot of discussions about that.
Very sensitive.
David
Little things like
Schwalke is
that.
listening from heaven right now, so,
That was a lot of fun.
yeah. Still on.
Put a cage in there.
So perhaps we can ask Kyle to do some price
Yeah.
investigation and
I
come
would
back
say
to us.
maybe direct staff to look into some potential amenities, and come back to you guys
Mhm.
with those to see what you think.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner Fee.
Yeah.
Was not even on my radar. CIP projects at Turtle Park and Staggs Park. Presenter Tricia Kramer, Community and Recreation Services Director.
Thank you, Chairman Teddy, commissioners. This is one that, has been placed on our, capital improvement project, 5-year plan. And, there's something that we would like to do this coming fiscal year. We typically try to push out at least 1 or 2 recreation-related amenities in that summertime, early fall. And, something that staff has been talking about and seen a need for is having a, baseball diamond. Sorry, we're looking at Jackie Robinson here. We're looking at doing the same size Little League diamond at Turtle Park. You know, as you know, we already have the backstop, so if.
As we have at Jackie Robinson.
We have yeah, you wanna go back one?
I guess
So that's
comparable.
what we have at Jackie, and we are looking to have that same size, put in at Turtle Park, where the backstop at Turtle is.
So, this is Staggs, it'd be similar kind of
Yeah, so similar.
here. And then maybe the same kind of length that we have in all the other parks, like Staggs is the same length as Jackie. The only difference really would have I don't believe the idea is to do like a grass area.
Grassy area.
Right.
I think it's all gonna be dirt, but
At least at this point.
Yeah, at this point, that could change, so.
But the backstop is there,
Mm-hmm.
and it'd be nice to do that. Right now, we use it for T-ball,
Yeah.
and so it'd be a little more guidance for the little guys.
Mhm.
Not necessarily to expand Little League games, but for our programming, our city programming for T-ball.
The one
Would
at
be a great
Staggs
option.
is used a lot. I'm sure the one at Turtle would be used just as much.
Yeah.
There's always people on the diamond.
That wouldn't encroach into where you use the field for soccer, correct?
No, there's plenty of space.
Yeah.
Big space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You only play, how
Hot.
many fields do you do the one field for soccer there, or did you bunch up? Two, you'd be fine still with both fields there?
Yeah.
Okay.
But they're the little fields there. They're not the large.
Yeah,
It's
so,
not like a,
yeah, the programming would all be more or less for the little guys, other than the
I absolutely love it. Are we looking at potential stands for parent seating?
Also, yes, that is part of, the other ask, also in the CIP plan, would be adding some of the bleachers, the 3-row bleachers, which can accommodate up to 30 people. We would do that there at Turtle Park and also be looking to do that at, Stag's Park.
I feel like
That
you,
would kind
you
of
would have
fit
to on most, right?
Yeah, would even it out at the parks. We've got the bleachers already at Jackie. They're a little bit bigger because that's a little bit different kind of field, and it is used for Little League and older kids.
I'll ask the question. Has anybody brought up a parking challenge?
So parking is being discussed, for Turtle Park. The thought right now is to, do some more designated parking along Via Nueva. Right now, there's no spaces per se, you just pull up and parallel park there. So that is in discussion, and actually, our, city engineer, Keith Dranowski, will probably be coming to the August meeting, with your approval, to discuss Camelback Park parking updates, as well as, what we might be thinking for Turtle Park.
I love it.
I feel like we ought to have a master plan for the park before we do any other changes, including the parking. I would say that those things ought to be, whatever we want to do there, we ought to lay out all of it, rather than do one thing and then adjust that later for the other things that we design.
I was just wondering whether that is the best place for it. in the
Might
park.
not be.
'Cause I mean, I remember playing there a long time ago, and it was, I mean, it's kind of close to the road, to Wigwam, which is a busier road
Yeah.
for, like, foul balls or third base standing over there. And I don't know if it would make sense to move it closer to the play structure and have the outfield towards Wigwam.
So Commissioner Faith, it would be kind of similar to what we already do with the Stags. We would just be focusing this on as the T-ball age. We do already hold T-ball games there when we
Yeah.
closed overseas Stags. It wouldn't be for the older, Little League age kids that could potentially hit the ball that far out.
Yeah, okay. Does
but-
it feel, when you're playing, does it feel like the kids are close to the road?
No, we have enough where, because there's like the games go out this way, and so when they hit it, the balls kind of lead this way. We still have a pretty good
Okay.
cushion on all the sides.
Yeah.
And it doesn't fit, the kids don't go that far out that way or get
Okay.
close to the road.
Yeah.
You must have a seating issue today, or you wouldn't be asking for bleachers, no?
Yes, right now, currently, when we do move here, we have, for the bench area for the kids, we have the portable little benches that we put down for them to sit on. We're probably still have to use those currently, but the parents just really bring their own chairs and just sit everywhere. We don't really have any designated areas for them to sit at, so.
And you would put in the little cage dugout things, or not at this one, because it's T-ball?
Yeah, for the Stags, obviously, it's already.
Right.
It's there, so we do utilize that, but for this one, we still have those benches that they could sit on behind there, and then the majority of the time, if they're out of the outfield, it's not like everyone's out of the outfield, and then the kids just go up there and bat, so we don't have to have the designated, like, built-in benches.
Okay.
Oh,
Basically just ripping out the grass.
yeah.
Yeah.
Essentially just be working on in the grass area, so.
Yeah.
Which is be good for especially the young kids, because they play T-ball and it just, they hit it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just skate.
It doesn't go anywhere. Yeah.
So it'd be nice to have another option
Yeah.
that they can use to actually have dirt field rather than getting bumped to the grass, so.
Is there a big change irrigation wise that we need to think about? I'm sure it's all just sprinkled with one giant area, so there's like, is that, does this amount include readjusting the irrigation around that to not spray your dirt?
Yeah, I believe, we have to.
Kyle's taking it into consideration,
Okay.
the irrigation.
Yeah, no, I think it makes sense too, and I, as a, think more about it, like the parking, I don't know how it would encroach on this, whatever we do. Unless we throw a parking lot in the corner, which I don't think anyone's gonna wanna do that.
I mean, we're already holding the same events there right now.
Yeah.
And the parking, because I go by there all the time, it's not horrendous. I know there's probably room for more, but it's not as bad as Camelback Park, I don't think, but, I don't know.
Yeah, I would agree. My point's more that whatever we do for parking, I don't know that we would move where the backstop is, because of that.
Oh, I see, okay.
So being, like, my earlier point is moot in terms of a master plan for it. Unless there's other stuff we want to consider doing in that park that would just make us hold up for a second.
Probably similar amounts of parking as there is at Camelback. You can't park on Wigwam.
Right.
Yeah, my street.
Has any of the residents there ever said anything about event day parking?
Picture day is always the biggest one where we get something, because that's always, instead of just the two, you had two more teams, because they're there all for pictures. Compared to Camelback, a lot less complaints, but we have occasionally gotten some with parents parking the cul-de-sac or in front of the streets and stuff, but, so yeah, I mean, if you go farther down this way, there's weekends where I've seen it kind of on both sides here, and we try our best to limit to make sure it's only on one side, but, yeah, it's compared to Camelback, it's definitely a lot less. Obviously, the street's straighter and the park's bigger than Camelback, so,
Yeah.
you get a lot longer length for that, but we get occasionally one.
The park used for soccer.
Yes. Our, under 6 age group.
I'll tell you the truth, when I coached the little kiddos there, I don't recall as challenging a parking situation as I did at Camelback. Camelback's rough. And maybe it's a lot of other factors too, but I don't recall it being as bad at Turtle.
Inside of a turn, so there's just less historical.
That's not to say that there could be opportunity to re-examine it in the future if a problem does come up, correct?
Yeah, it's a much less busy road. Not really through traffic, it's just the neighborhood that uses that.
So do we need some sort of action?
I need a motion. I didn't have one more question, or maybe just one more item, is the rolling bleachers. My only concern with them in this location is like, hey, you're just coming into Litchfield Park and here's the back of some bleachers. They're not exactly aesthetically pleasing. That would be my only, and I think it's less of a concern at Stag's, because you already have the whole setup and it sort of just blends into it. This might feel like there's just some bleachers sitting there.
I understand what you're saying. I think once the whole diamond is finished, bleachers make more sense. I think people see the whole field.
More sense than now.
Practically and aesthetically, it would look better and probably be more functional if it was closer to the bathrooms. But it's also moving it.
Viable, you'd have to move it to one of the corners. That corner's a no-go. That bottom corner you could do.
I was thinking
Or
that
I'll go up this
the
way.
corner that's made by the bathrooms in the sand.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I think then you're gonna get into soccer field territory though, because you'll have to come out this way.
I don't know where soccer's played out there. Maybe we could do like nice looking bleachers, because it's not gonna, I don't know that we need like 5 rows of bleachers. Maybe just like a couple.
They're just 3 row.
For 30 people.
Yeah, maybe to offset that, we could do something with the monument sign over there. I think that's the one of the ones which is dirt.
Draw the island.
Yeah, put some plants
Well, there's my kumquat tree in there.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's one of the only ones with something in it.
This is, good. If you're talking about this, is not that, so I don't. It was taken, but I don't believe that. There it is.
Oh, the dead grass.
We have more trees over
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Well-
If you were talking about that, I was just saying, it
No,
is, sometimes it.
This sign on the corner,
Oh,
it says,
the sign.
it says like Turtle Park,
Okay.
and there's a tree and some dirt.
Okay.
So, zhuzhing up the
Yeah.
landscaping
Yeah.
around the sign,
Make it-
maybe.
What
But
about
go ahead.
these bushes behind where the bleachers are gonna go, so just to kind of obscure that from the road and it doesn't look like.
Yeah.
I just think they're just, I think functionally we want them, great, but it's not gonna look nice. So you're driving out that, looking in the back of bleachers every day as you're driving in and out of the city.
Yep. I would agree, and I would urge some landscaping to. It won't be hard either, plant a couple bushes.
I like it.
So do you want an amended motion, or so do we?
It says action comment.
Yeah, it says recommended motion, or. So can I make a motion to recommend to council that a baseball diamond be added at Turtle Park and rolling bleachers be added at Stags Park, and we evaluate how to add rolling bleachers at Turtle Park in a way that they're obscured from major thoroughway view?
You can make that motion.
I'm making that motion.
I will second.
You have to say the whole thing. Just kidding.
Verbatim.
Are there any other questions? All in favor of the motion to add the baseball diamond bleachers and evaluate landscaping surrounding, I guess, the sign and the bleachers on the wigwam? Was that pretty close?
I think we got a recording.
We'll record
Yeah,
that.
Yeah.
Take
yeah.
your recording
Yeah.
motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? So it has passed. Commissioners report on current events. Commissioner Giordano.
Yes. Blue Star Memorial was lovely. It was beautiful. And I love the new lights around the pond. We have been taking walks every night, and they're very nice, very bright. It's good to see. I'm just gonna throw out crosswalks, desert man, I'm poor-ish, use a walk, use a crosswalk, and maybe like, safety lights around the red path after this, but other than that, lovely.
Thank you. Right on.
Those were my two comments. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Gertz.
Recognize the recognition. Besides adding to that, love seeing the new orange trees coming in, that we're replacing those. So I think it'll be, a while until we get past all our lifetimes here, remaining lifetimes before they're the size of some of the ones that we have, but it's good to see that those are coming in.
Chair recognizes Commissioner Faith.
Nothing to report.
You guys said all the good stuff already that I would have said. Also love the fact that, such an incredible organization like Blue Star Moms now being memorialized in our recent, largest, and, soon to be most in use park. The trees are fantastic. The landscaping in general, all over the town looks wonderful. Please pass that on to Kyle. And I would also say, looking forward to hearing about how everything goes in the next, or, watching how everything goes over the 4th of July. I won't be here. But then watching the upcoming changes. I mean, there's just so much happening right now. Where again, at that point where here comes some major change, right? There's 2 lots already sold, a couple more lots maybe getting ready to, and some, you know, potential changes around the old library and the rec center. Now, it's my understanding that we don't actually need a motion to adjourn.
Somebody told me
I
that.
think you can just adjourn
Yeah.
Should we stick with the motion to adjourn? I don't know.
Why don't we do it this time, and I will confirm with the city clerk whether it's.
Somebody told me that.
Yeah.
It's word on the street, word's getting around.
If you just adjourn in the middle, you're like, I'm just done.
That's it.
Your power. I'm out of here.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
You weren't recognized.
You pointed at me.
Any other questions?
We get a second.
All in favor of adjourning, say aye. All opposed? We are adjourned.
Do it right.